Hey guys, it's Exile, and today I'm going to be trying to give you a pretty in-depth review of the Acton Blink Board. For those who don't know, it is an electric skateboard. It's one of the lightest and smallest you can get. So yeah, before buying this, I pretty much watched literally every YouTube video I could find, like read every single review. There's not that many. I'm pretty sure I even watched one that was in Spanish just because I wanted to like get all the info I could, like just watching people ride it. So yeah. So my goal with this is going to be try to just kind of give a little more detail. I've had this for about a week and answer any questions that I had that the other reviews didn't answer. So first of all, the price, I think it's normally $500, but I was able to get it on Newegg. I don't know if it was like a temporary sale or what, but I just happened to be on Acton's Facebook page and they mentioned that you could get $100 off. So yeah, I got it for $400 instead of $500, so I'm pretty happy about that. They also have another model which is lighter. I think it's 7 pounds. This one's 9. It's a little less robust, I would say. The wheels are smaller. It doesn't have a belt drive, which you can see. Let me see if I can focus that. There we go. So this one has a belt drive, which means it does have some resistance. You can see it can't just spin freely like that. So if you want to ride it as a normal skateboard, if you're on flat ground, I mean, you can push it and ride it a little bit, but you wouldn't want to. Let's see. See, the other one comes with a hub motor, which is actually built into the like kind of like into the wheel, sort of. Which is pretty nice because it gives you regenerative braking, which means when you're basically not using it, or when you're braking with it, you get some power back, which is cool. But they lack some torque. I think its top speed's only 10 miles an hour. This one's 15. It can't go up as steep of hills. Basically, it's just a little weaker. It's more for just cruising around. It's essentially, the way it seemed like it was described, is it's basically a normal skateboard that happens to have electrical assist. So if you want to go up a little steep hill, it can take you up that. But this one's a little more for just full-on riding. And so far, I'm very happy with it. But to start off, I'm going to give you some of the cons. And if you've watched any other reviews, you'll probably be familiar with these. So first one is the remote. It's just, I mean, out of the box, it is just terribly made. I mean, it's not as bad just like holding it, but the actual mechanism is it was just not good. It was notchy. It gets stuck about there. And so what I did was, it's only one screw. I took it apart and I fixed it. Now it's perfect. It's smooth. I mean, still not that great a quality, but it does the job. And I've never had it disconnect, which I know some people talked about. And I'll actually go back to that later in the video. I'll make another clip where you can see, I'll show you how I fixed it in case you want to. And it was actually pretty easy. The other complaint is the brakes. And at first, when I was in the beginner and normal modes, it was okay. Going about 6 miles an hour and you hit the brakes, if you're pretty gentle on them and you ease into them, you're okay. But any kind of speed and you try to use them, even the slightest application of brakes, and it's pretty touchy. So I would say, I mean, really using them going like anything above like 6 to 7 miles an hour, you're probably going to throw yourself off the front. Even, I mean, if you brace for it, it's still pretty abrupt. So that would be my one complaint, is the braking system. I don't really know how it works. I'm not sure if it's like a pad in there that expands and presses on. I don't really know the mechanics of it, but yeah, it's pretty touchy. And I've heard that's the same for the other Blink board, the Blink Lite. So yeah, so that's really my only two complaints. Aside from that, it's got a lot of power. It said it could go up a 15% grade, which is, I'm not entirely sure the angle on that. Can't think of it off the top of my head, but I only weigh about 120, and I've taken it up significantly steeper grades than that. So obviously, your weight will, affect how fast and how steep of a grade you can go up, because it's just got to carry more weight. But that little motor it's got some power. Surprising. more than I was expecting, actually. So that's one of the things you have to be careful of. Is even in beginner mode, if you just kind of hop on and hit the gas just a little bit, it'll probably throw you off the first few times. So yeah, it's pretty torquey. As for the top speed, it's supposed to be 15 miles an hour. I'm really not that good of a skateboarder. I've only skateboarded, I used to skateboard when I was a kid, but haven't for like 8 years literally. So I'm a pretty bad skateboarder, so it's hard for me to look at my phone and try and go like 15 miles an hour, but just going like 13 or 12, which is the fastest I've gone and been able to look at my phone, it's felt pretty fast, and I haven't even been full throttle, so it can definitely hit that. So, just for comparison, I have a normal size skateboard, so I'll flip it over so you can see, and you can see it's actually a little bit shorter than a normal skateboard, which for me is fine because I want it to be portable because I'm going to bring it to college, but it is something to keep in mind. Another thing to mention is that the stock bearings, in my opinion, were not that great. They're actually, I replaced them. They're these bearings right here. Let's see if we can focus on that. I think they're titanium. It says TTN on them, so I'm assuming that means titanium. And you can see they're very quiet and they're pretty smooth. They just, they don't spin very easily. Like, that's about all you get. So, for comparison, I used to have some, $7 Bones Reds on this. So I swapped them out onto my new board, just for fun. And I literally have never cleaned these. Had them 8 years. So they're probably not in the greatest condition. They're $7 bearings, but they're pretty good. I know they have a good reputation. And you can, just a slight push, these things spin forever. So literally, I did a timed comparison. Let's get this back in focus. And I replaced one wheel with the reds and left the other wheel the same. They're all reds now, but before. And I timed them, and the one with the titanium stock bearing spun for 20 seconds. Literally exactly, I timed it with a stopwatch. And the ones with the reds spun for 3 minutes and 46 seconds. So, I don't know how well that'll translate into real world usage. It does feel smoother to me, and I still haven't hit the top speed yet, so it may go faster, probably gets better battery life. I have to imagine it's just more efficient. So just things to keep in mind. Anyways, that's like a $7 replacement job if you want to get just like some cheap bearings. For all I know, these could be great under once they're under pressure and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. So that's one thing. Try to think. One of the other issues people mentioned is that this actually can bust off, like these little. I guess there's little plastic pieces underneath the washers. It's kind of hard to focus here. That these washers ride on to hold this battery pack in place. And some people mentioned that those will literally all snap and you'll drop your battery basically onto the ground while you're riding. So I'm kind of worried about that. But I did see some people mention that they'd contacted Acton, and Acton had said that they had a new generation case that they were sending them to fix it or something. So maybe the newer models have this revised case. I can't say for sure. I couldn't find any other information online, so take that for what you will. Yeah, the trucks, everything seems okay. It rolls nice. It's also got a shock pad, which is just there basically to help reduce vibration. You can see it's right there under the trucks. Just for those who don't know, it's just basically a rubber pad that mounts in between your board and your trucks, and it's just there to reduce rattling, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'll go get in some detail on the controller. I'll take another clip, and yeah, see you there. Alright guys, so here is the issue with the controller. This is what it looks like once you pop the one screw off and just kind of pop the little plastic lid off. See if you can see this black neck on the bottom of the thing. It rides, essentially, when I got mine, it's just resting on this silver post that you can see coming out of this metal piece, which registers all your movement. And so the problem is, trying to get this focused a little better. There we go. The problem is it's not glued in or anything, and the neck is longer. So when you go back or forward, you can see I've trimmed off some of this black piece so it won't happen anymore. But try to give you an idea, when it tipped back, the neck would actually hit this inside of this metal ring, and then since it wasn't glued down, it would essentially like tip off the post a little bit, only held in by the lid. So it was kind of just, it just didn't feel good. I mean, it was floppy and it was notchy. It was just not good. So what I did was I trimmed a little off this neck so it wouldn't hit anymore going forward or back, and I just used a Dremel. You can use pretty much anything, probably just sandpaper if you wanted to go at it long enough. I only took a little bit off, really. And then I just basically epoxied it on just so it wouldn't fall off anymore. You could also use super glue, I'm sure, or whatever. Epoxy was just easy and I knew it would hold. So that's that. And so what would happen is that why it was sticking is not only was it tipping forward on this, but when it would do that, this little crescent shaped piece right here would then tip up and hit the inside of this on the bottom and like get stuck. And so then you'd have to like click it back, and like the spring wouldn't bring it back. Like I would say if you kind of let off it a little slow, it would lock up like 40% of the time. It was really bad. I also did sand some of this off just a little bit just to make sure it wouldn't catch. So like I said, it's buttery smooth now, but I did have to do that. And I did that the day I got it. I rode it around for a little bit and just said basically, that's just not right. I'm sure it's an easy fix. Pulled it apart, and yeah, took a couple minutes and it's good to go now. I have really no complaints. Never had a disconnect, none of the issues that other people have had, and it's smooth. So that's definitely something to consider if you get it. It would probably bug me if I hadn't fixed it. Another thing is I noticed people complained about the LEDs on this sometimes, like that they can't turn off. Really? I mean, they're in daytime, you can barely see them. Sorry about that, my video for some reason cut off. Anyways, like I said, these aren't very bright, and they're LEDs, so the amount of power they're using is so minimal, I can't imagine it really affects your mileage. I mean, I saw some people saying they get like 2 more miles or whatever by disabling the lights. I just can't imagine how that's the case, because the motor is going to be your #1 draw. So, I mean, yeah, it's just one more comment I had. Also, the charge time seems really good. Seems to always charge pretty quick. I've never actually drained it all the way dead. And the app is pretty cool. You can adjust your modes. You cannot control it with the app. Just keep that in mind. You have to use a remote, at least unless there's some hidden way I haven't figured out. You have 3 speed modes, and yeah, I'm going to go take it out and record some video in Pro mode, which is the fastest. And yeah, I'll add that right onto the end of this. Show some braking too.